wasn't ready to let go of that. I knew how devastating the crack smoking was, and I knew that if I didn't stop, like if not now, then when, kind of thing. And my parents were always a big part because I knew, in the back of my mind, I knew that I would have their love and support if I started doing the right thing. So here I am, 20 something years old, getting fired from Toyota, getting fired from Lexus, getting evicted from apartments, having girlfriends throw my stuff out the door saying you're a loser, you're a drug addict. I would have never been with you if I knew you were doing cocaine. I've heard that so many times, and I'd go running back to my parents and they'd let me back in the house and give me another chance. Then I started getting older into my 30s and I was still doing the same stuff, and they showed some tough love and said, listen, we love you, but you're not allowed to live here. I don't care what you say you're doing. But knowing that if I did decide to really put my life back together and continue to do the right thing consistently, knowing that I would have them in my corner was a huge, huge part. So I always tell people that know somebody struggling with addiction, just letting them know continuously that you're in their corner and let it be on their terms. I mean, obviously you don't want to see them hurt themselves, but they have to know that there's somebody that still cares about them. I never gave up hope on myself because in the back of my head I knew that there was people that never gave up hope on me.
We'll get into that a little bit later.
Okay.
So you brought this up in the beginning. Tell me about the first time you went into recovery. What moment prompted that decision? Was it the instance that we already talked about?
Oh no, so early on, when it was just alcohol, marijuana, and a little bit of cocaine, when I started to get in trouble at the automobile dealership, I knew I had a problem. Okay, I had gotten suspended maybe from work, and I knew I had a problem. I went to a local Kodak agency because that was the name I associated with recovery, and I just walked in and said, "Hey, my name's Maurice. I have a drug problem. I want help." They put me on like group therapy sessions. I mean, I had medical insurance, so it all covered it and everything like that. They put me like in a group therapy session. I wasn't ready to take it serious, so I was literally showing up to the meetings high. I was sneaking into the bathroom to sniff a line to kind of keep myself going through the meeting. So I was so bad with cocaine that even though I knew I had a problem and I was recognizing it and I was asking for help, I wasn't ready. I wasn't going to stop calling my dealer. I wasn't going to stop trying to be a hustler. A big part of it was that addiction to that fast kind of lifestyle, making fast money, being the guy that's at the bar with the cocaine, being the guy that always knows where the party is. I used to think that I was cool, and I wasn't. Do you know what I mean? I had friends that were going home on Friday nights to hang out with their family and save money and start a business, buy a piece of investment property. Like, those are things, like, looking back 15, 20 years, I wish I was getting excited about. You know, I wish I was getting excited about hanging out with my buddies and talking about a small business plan, opposed to hanging out with buddies that do coke and drink liquor all night. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. Okay. Let me see if I have this correct. March 12th, 2015
Perfect.
is the day you decided to turn away for recovery, to go to recovery for the second time, correct?
Well, no, so way more than 2 times. So
Okay.
in 2007, I had some bad rock bottoms where I had already been homeless before. I had already been fired from multiple jobs. So to kind of speed up the process, there was a situation where I borrowed a friend's car and I was supposed to be making a drug delivery, and I just took off for days. I didn't make the drug delivery. I used all the drugs. I rented out his car to drug dealers in the Chad Brown housing projects in Providence. I knew at that point that I was spiraling out of control. Okay? If I could take one of my best friend's cars and go give it to a drug dealer with no second thought, then obviously I had a serious issue. At that point, the police were involved in everything. He said to me, if you go get help, I won't press charges. I needed help anyway, okay? I knew of a men's program in Providence just by word of mouth. I went there voluntarily. I said, hey, I'm doing really bad with alcohol, cocaine, crack. I need help, blah, blah, blah. It was a Christian-based men's rehabilitation program. That was in 2007, 2008. They let me in. I lasted 30 days. I thought I had the whole world figured out because now, mind you, I went from being a hardcore vicious drug addict to staying clean for 30 days. So I think I got everything all figured out, excuse me. I used my day pass that the program had given me to go handle some court fines downtown, and that was just a trigger for me. Being out in the open, I had a few bucks in my pocket. I went to the bar, I started drinking, I called the drug dealer, I never went back to the program. I lied about it the following Monday. They didn't believe me, they kicked me out. They gave me a choice. The usual rules are you're kicked out for 30 days. I begged and pleaded to keep me in the program. I said, I really need this. I really have a drug problem. I really want help. And he said, I'm going to do you a favor. He said, if you come back in 2 weeks with a clean urine, then I'll let you back in the program. Because he looked right at me. His name was Pastor Steve. He looked right at me. He said, I love you, Maurice, but you're no different from any other man that comes through these walls. You have a drug problem and you're not ready to surrender yet. Like, you're not ready to give it up, obviously, because you used last week and that's why you're kicked out of the program. So he said, come back in 2 weeks with the clean urine, I'll let you back in. So I wasn't completely clean for 2 weeks. I did some weed, I did some beer, but I knew that I couldn't do coke or crack because I knew I had to stay straight headed and get that stuff out of my system because I knew I had to pass the drug test in 2 weeks to get back in the program. Got dropped off at the program, passed the drug test, stayed in the program, was a successful graduate of the program, became a resident assistant, helped other young men in the program, transitioned out of that building, got my own housing at a sober housing facility, was paying rent, was working construction, everything was going great. Started running a lot, okay? A lot. So in that program, the running, because I couldn't leave for the first 30 days, so when I went back the second time and I was ready, I knew I was staying. That was it. I was like, I'm staying this time. And I ran every day in the parking lot because I couldn't leave the property. As soon as the 30 days was up and they opened the gate, I remember running down Cranston Street in Cranston all the way to Park Ave and using that track at the junior high, and I just loved it. I loved the freedom of it. I loved the feeling of it, the endorphins. So that's what got me hooked because I had been clean and sober and I had found something that I enjoyed, okay? Remember before I was using running, but I was never consistent with it because I was always worried about partying. Now I found it, loved it, enjoyed it. It kept me on the straight and narrow for a long time, over 3 years. However, as an addict, in the back of my mind, I always thought, when's my next escape? When's the next time I can get away with something? So let's say you're one of my new coworkers, okay? And you don't know me as the old cokehead Maurice. You know me as the new guy that loves to run, loves to talk about going to church, loves to talk about, staying clean and sober. Well, in the back of my mind, I'm always thinking about how I can sneak away from my new life and kind of go back to the old Maurice. Nobody's going to know. It was like a sense of entitlement. It was a sense of escape. And I never had like depressing thoughts that took me to these places. It was always like a selfish entitlement type of thing. Because people have asked me that before. Like, if were you depressed? Were you upset? Were you stressed out? Were you anxious? I think I was more just like selfish. Okay. And the addict part of me just was begging to be fed. So I went back and relapsed and threw away all that clean time, messed up the job in Boston, messed up the sober housing, and really fell hard a few times. Ended up back in the ACI doing some jail time for a little while. So to kind of speed this up, when I started the sobriety and the running again was when I signed up for my first half marathon, because I had a goal in mind of running a marathon. If you're a runner, you want to run a marathon, I guess. So I had a goal to run the Boston Marathon. But this was before I knew about qualification times, about any of that. I had no idea the significance of it, okay? I just knew that the Boston Marathon was the marathon to run if you wanted to run one. So I set a goal to run the Boston Marathon. Signed up for a half marathon in Bristol, ran it, had fun, loved it, became hooked. That community, I know I already touched on this, that community replaced my wanting to go hide out in some drug house, wanting to go hide out in the bar and get high. I never wanted to lose the opportunity to be part of that on a Sunday morning or a Saturday morning. I never wanted to lose that. So those thoughts of when am I going to escape again turned into when am I going to race again? When am I going to get a chance to buy a new outfit and go out there and pass out high fives? When am I going to get a chance to beat that hour and 46 minutes that I ran last week? So I can't stress enough the racing part of it, the running community and the events, that's what kept me away from wanting to go back to the addiction.
Thank you for that. Okay. We'll touch into a little bit of what we have already. Before I ask this, earlier you mentioned Kodak.
Yes.
Was that an acronym for Recovery Center?
Are you familiar with the name Kodak?
I am.
CODAC, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the name I associated with recovery. I knew of a local location in East Providence. I literally just walked in and asked for help.
Okay.
And they offered group therapy sessions, a couple of one-on-one sessions. Yeah.
Do you still continue to go to substance abuse and alcohol like programs, like speaking at those different places?
So there's a group called Overcomers at my church, and when I say stuff like that, I never want to come across like I'm super spiritual. I do believe in God. I am a member of a local Christian non-denominational church. However, I believe in progress. I'm not perfect. For example, I live with my girlfriend. We're not married, so that's against what most people that go to church believe in. It's against what the Bible says and so forth. But I don't want to act like I'm super spiritual. To answer your question, I go to the Overcomers meeting when I can attend, staying vocal about it. Like, I'll talk about sobriety and recovery to anybody that will listen. So people that meet me, they're like, oh, there's Maurice. He runs marathons and he used to be a drug addict. Like, that's kind of like how I come across, because it's all I ever talk about. If you introduced me to a friend and we were going out to lunch, within the first 30 minutes, I'm probably going to say something about, hey, I run marathons and I used to be a drug addict. So that's kind of, it's how I keep it in front of me, because I never want to lose it. It's crazy to me. Like, I've been talking about this, our meeting, for the last few days, because I'm so excited about it. Because 5 or 6 years ago, I wasn't the guy that you would reach out to and say, hey, I'm interested in learning more. I'm interested in sitting down with you for my project. So that fills me with gratitude. That fills me with drive to stay focused. Like, the opportunity to be here and talk with you, I would have never had that opportunity if I was living my old life. So staying vocal, the social media accountability, and I want to become a better runner. I want to become a better athlete. So I know that putting something bad in my body is gonna damage those chances. And the fact that I can complete a marathon, and I used to do all those horrible things to my body, is a victory in itself. So I always think about that. I think about my parents. I think about the fact that I'm 40 and I have a new chance at life. So no to weekly meetings, but yes to always talking about it and keeping it vocal and keeping it in front of me.
Describe your support system, and we'll start with your family. So how has your family impacted your goal of fighting addiction and finishing races?
So when I did this in 2007, 2008, My mom and dad were very vocally proud of, hey, we're so proud of you. 1 year clean and sober is a big deal. We love you. We've always loved you. We knew you could do it. So I've always had that. When I slipped up in 2010, 2011 and started making bad decisions again, my mom and I stayed very, very close. My dad was kind of, his disappointment was turned into, I don't want to hear it, you know. Oh, you're getting clean again? I don't want to hear it. He was very disappointed because he had put so much into showing me that love, that encouragement, and that support when I did clean it up. So it took him a little bit longer to come back around. So on my second roll with this, when it was 90 days clean and sober, my dad wasn't like, hey, great job. It took 1 year, 2 years. It took that consistency. So my support system has been my mom, my dad. I have a great girlfriend that we've been together for 5 years. In the last 5 years, I've only been clean and sober for 44 or 46 of those 60 months. So she put up with a little bit of BS, for lack of a better term, in the beginning. I have a son that's 100% proud of me now, and things like that. So my support system would be mom, dad, girlfriend, son, and then the running community. Everybody I come across is like, oh my God, I love your story. I follow you on Instagram, or I've met you before. My brother used to struggle with addiction. Thank you. Like I had a woman send me a message once, and she said that she had never heard anybody be so transparent about crack use, alcohol use, and prostitution. She said, you helped me get my brother to open up about it, because she goes, I knew he was that bad, but I didn't know how to talk to him. She used my Instagram page to kind of break the ice, and he started talking to her about drug abuse, about prostitution. He got clean. I mean, the last time she checked in with me, he was over 6 months clean. So something like that, it impacts me like you can't imagine.
I think it's very important when you said that you talk about it as often as you can because it keeps it in front of you.
It does.
And it keeps you on track. But it also invites other people to join that track.
It does, because not everybody, someone said something once on one of my Facebook posts. They said, Maurice, I give you a lot of credit for admitting that you are a crack addict, because not everybody will say, hey, I was a crackhead. Some people will say, oh, I had a cocaine problem. Well, it wasn't cocaine. It was crack. I was the guy that would take his whole paycheck and go blow it in one night. And I would justify it because I wasn't out on the streets robbing and stealing from people. So I wasn't a crackhead. Do you know what I mean?
You had a job.
I had a
that got
job
money
that
from
had
it.
the money coming in. When I lost that job, I'd go get another job. So I always had my own income and my own way to get my own drugs. So I never and I would always try to look clean and presentable. I'd go to the barber shop and get a shave. I'd buy a new shirt. I'd buy new jeans. I didn't look like a drug addict, and that kind of that pride and that sense of entitlement, it fueled my addiction.
I kind of want to go into your girlfriend because you talk about her a lot in different interviews. How has her support just influenced you with positivity to keep on this journey?
She helped me with the first initial kick in the butt, because when we met, I was very open about my past. We've known each other since, I grew up with her younger sister. So we've known each other since a younger age. So she knew that I struggled with alcohol and drugs. When we got together, it was on the premise that I wasn't going to be using alcohol and drugs anymore. I'm doing the right thing. I'm back doing the running. I'm back doing the church thing. You don't need to worry about that. At the early stages of our relationship, I started to use alcohol on the weekends, weed on the weekends. The alcohol and the weed would carry over into during the week. So now I'm drinking randomly and smoking weed randomly on a Tuesday or a Wednesday night, okay? Not to say it's okay to do on a Friday or Saturday night, but I was moving it from Friday and Saturday night and starting to do it all week. Then I started just drinking when I didn't need to, like just all the time. She was the one who gave me a kick in the butt and was like, first of all, this isn't what I signed up for. Second of all, you're way better than this. You know, you're not going to advance at work. You're not gonna, reach any of your running goals if you're sitting on the couch drinking vodka. Okay? If you're not happy with the job that you're working, go find a job that makes you happy. But drinking on the couch isn't where it's at. So that was a big kick in the butt for me, because she was like pretty much laying it down. She was like, "Listen, I signed up for the Maurice that promised me clean, sober, energetic, positive. Let me go land a full-time career. Let me talk about buying a house. Let me talk about traveling." She's like, "That's the Maurice that I want to be with. You're sitting on the couch drinking for no reason. It's not gonna fly." So she gave me a real big kick in the butt in that aspect. It helped me. I went out to a job fair. I landed a new shirt and tie job, sales job. I call it a shirt and tie job. I landed a sales job, and that sales job, Alliance Security, they're not doing too well right now, but I would never say anything bad about them because they gave me such purpose at a time where I needed it. So they hired me as an entry-level telephone sales agent, but I had the opportunity to make big money, okay? And I knew that I couldn't screw it up by getting high or drinking. So I literally stayed clean and sober because I felt so good about myself in this new opportunity. I would see the guys at work with the fancy suits and the fancy cars, and I'm like, I want to be like that in a couple of years. And that fueled me. So the combination of my girlfriend Louisa and the job Alliance Security gave me that purpose at a time that I needed it. I stopped drinking right away, stopped using drugs right away, and stayed clean and sober ever since.
Let me stop this again.